Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to TokYo-Yo. My name is T. You might remember this location. I used to film here way back in the wintertime. Anyway, let's get into our business for today. So thank you so much for everyone's support on TokYo-Yo Talk, which is now a podcast, as I mentioned before. I'm going to be removing the YouTube interviews in the next week or so the only place you're going to be able to find the interviews is going to be on the podcast. I just uploaded Jonathan Best, Dr. B's interview onto the podcast feed this morning. So a lot of people were showing a little confusion with this, so I want to explain it one more time very quickly. There's an iTunes link in case you're an iTunes user, but there's also an RSS feed that I'm going to put into the description of every video. You can take that RSS feed, copy paste it into any app you use, Pocket Casts or Castro, any podcast app you use. They usually have an RSS field where you can search manually for a podcast, and you can find us there too. So don't worry, even if you don't use iTunes or the podcasts app, you can still find our show, no problem. And you're going to want to subscribe to TokYo-Yo Talk, the podcast, because that's the only place you're going to find the next few interviews. I've got Dylan Kowalski coming up, I've got Sam Hicks coming up very soon, and I've got tons of guests coming up as well, so you're really going to want to subscribe. Remember, the future interviews will not be going up on the YouTube channel, only on the TokYo-Yo Talk podcast feed. Without further ado, let's get into today's video. So, sorry about the background noise. I know there's a lot of cicadas, but I actually filmed this before and it was just way too noisy to do. So I found a quiet spot. Let's knock this out. So today we're going to be talking about a yo-yo that's not officially released yet, so I feel a little bit strange giving it a full review, but this is my impressions and feelings of the yo-yo. I was lucky enough to get the opportunity to receive the R Throwers community designed prototype yo-yo. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Let's get into it. So let's get a closer look at the R Throwers community design prototype. This doesn't actually have a name that I know of yet, so I'm just going to keep calling it the prototype. So as you can see, the shape is a very nice rounded organic shape here. You do have a lot of weight on the rims. You see there's an undercut here, but this does give you some solid rim weight. The cup is very reminiscent of a G-squared yo-yo because of this spike that you see in the center here, which in my opinion is a bit on the sharp side, and I kind of like that. I don't have any yo-yos with this, so it's quite a unique feature to me. Around the spike you have a little bit of a slightly convex circle here, and then the rest of the rim is very nice bowl shape. The material is a really smooth blast. I'm not sure exactly what kind of blast this is, but it's extremely smooth, extremely grindable. It's not that fingernails on chalkboard feeling, it's a very comfortable blast. Perfect for grinds, perfect for hand feel, no problems. The feel of the yo-yo is extremely comfortable. Now, I've mentioned before, I think H shapes are kind of the most ergonomic, but despite the round shape here, this thing fits in your hand very well, and I think that's because it's a bit on the wider side, so we'll get into that in a little bit. I think the look of the yo-yo is really nice. It's a very deep purple, and it seems to change hues depending on where you are. Like if you're in direct sunlight, it's very intense, but if you're inside, it's quite a muted color. But it's just a beautiful anodization. Very even, no blemishes that I could detect at all. Plus you have the very cool inner ring here, and then you have the spike. I think it's just a very unique looking yo-yo. Plus I've got it outfitted with Flaming Yo, which is from Zipline Strings, very nice bright pink color. I think it complements the purple very nicely. Basically, the R Throwers, which is the subreddit dedicated to yo-yo stuff, yo-yo news, sharing gear, sharing tutorials, all that stuff, the community decided as a whole that we wanted to design a yo-yo together. And basically, we decided the dimensions, the colors, the shapes, where it would be made, where it would be anodized, all that kind of stuff. Everything was decided and voted on by the community. And we were really lucky to have Jacob Gross from G Squared as sort of our helper, middleman. We couldn't have done it without him, but he was doing all the really, businessy side. He received the yo-yos, he tested them and everything. So basically what was come up with is this is not technically a G Squared yo-yo, but it's the R Throwers community design prototype powered by G Squared. So Jacob Gross did a lot of the really important work. The community got to kind of sit back and think of the fun stuff, the dimensions and everything, but we owe Jacob a lot for getting this yo-yo off the ground. Of course, cicadas had to just start right when I start recording. Hold on, I'm gonna see if I can take care of this. I don't know if that's any better or not. Anyway, we owe Jacob a lot for getting us through all this really hard work and getting us a yo-yo that is super cool. So about 20 prototypes were going to be available, and G2 Jake started a lottery so that basically people would be chosen at random, and whoever got chosen would get the prototype and they would get to test it out. Now, we did buy these prototypes too. We paid full price for them, so there's that as well. But I think it was just a really, really cool opportunity to get one of these to try, and it's the only thing I've ever had that's had Jake involved, so it's a really cool thing, I think. And so that's where we are now. So still, the name is being decided, final colors are being decided. So let's talk about playability of the prototype. So this thing is pretty wide and the diameter is pretty small. You'd think that with an organic style it wouldn't be so stable, but actually because it's a bit on the wider side, and I think because the rims have a lot of weight on them, it plays extremely stable and it spins for a long time too. Just like any modern yo-yo, they all spin good and they're all stable. But I was really surprised. I didn't expect it to play this well for its shape and for kind of having a lot of design elements from a lot of different people. It plays extremely well despite that. As far as what it can do, it's extremely versatile. It's nice and wide, so I'm just getting into whips and slacks, and I'm finding it very, very easy to get the string into the gap because of its width. The blast makes it extremely grindable. This thing is so smooth. As I mentioned, it's a really high quality blast, making finger grinds really, really easy. It does finger spin as well. It's not designed for it, but you can let it orbit around and then you can catch it in a whip very, very easily. You can thumb grind with it as well. You can get your thumb in here. You don't really even need to throw it at tilt either. It's got quite a thick rim, as you can see. And these spikes are really cool too. I don't have any yo-yos with spikes built in. It's really, really neat. These are common on a few of G Squared Yo-Yo's designs. These are for what you'd call matador play, which is where you grab the yo-yo on those spikes and you hold it like that. I'm nowhere near good enough to do stuff like that, but actually G2 Jake does some of that on his channel. You can see him go from a breakaway into a horizontal play by grabbing the spikes on the Ghost, I think it is, which is a pretty cool thing to do. So I'm practicing that now. And we also need to talk about how smooth this thing is. It is butter smooth. Unbelievable. Like, it's really crazy how smooth this thing is. I don't know if I have a smoother yo-yo than this. The iYoyo Steel and the Veritas Pro I've mentioned are two of the smoothest yo-yos I've ever played. This thing is just as smooth, hands down. So the Veritas Pro has 7075 rings and the iYoyo Steel is a bimetal. This is the smoothest mono-metal, bar none, hands down, that I've ever played. And it's crazy because this is a prototype, and I remember Jake saying in one of his videos that there was a chance that there would be some vibe, which I totally expected. It's a prototype, and like, I don't care about vibe that much unless it's really bad. So I expected, yeah, it's probably gonna be a little vibey. It's a prototype and a bunch of different people designed it. It's kind of a weird design, so I expect that to happen. No vibe whatsoever. This is one of the smoothest yo-yos I've ever played, and if the final production run is anything like it, it's going to be just as high quality. It's pretty amazing. When you throw it, even if you have a sloppier throw, it's still just dang smooth. You can barely feel it on the string. It's just extremely high quality. If this prototype is any indication of the final run, the guy's got nothing to worry about. This thing is really solid already. Into like pros and cons, because as I said, this is a prototype and there's a chance that things will change in the future. But I do just want to kind of go over some of the points that I thought really stood out to me. Like I said, it is wide, but it is stable. It's long spinning, it's extremely versatile for different styles of plays, finger grinds, finger spins, thumb grinds. It's wide enough to play with whips and slacks nicely. I also find that it's not too wide to hit tricks, like I'm practicing black hops right now, and it's not too wide that it's getting in the way of tricks like that. It's very, very versatile for just about everything. I think the purple's beautiful. I'm sure that it won't come in these colors in the end. This is probably just the prototype color, but I think this color is absolutely fantastic. And it's butter smooth, so basically, as long as it keeps these specs, I think, and it keeps the same general shape and everything stays pretty much the same, this is going to be a really great yo-yo that you guys are really going to want to catch. To be honest, when I first threw it, I wasn't sure what to think of it. It had the spikes, which were sharper than I expected, and it has this kind of rounded shape. It's a bit wide, but it is organic, which I do like organic shapes. And when I first threw it, I was like, okay. The more I throw it, the more I'm coming to love it more and more every day. And now it's becoming, you know, the yo-yo that I keep in my pocket all the time. It's surprising. It really grows on you. I think it is a little strange, just all these different design elements coming together to make this really, really cool thing. I wouldn't say I was ever worried about it or that I thought it would come out badly or anything. It just came out so much better than I expected for having so many things that had to come together to work properly together. The community working together, Jake needing to do all this stuff on his own. He had to test things out and send them out to us. Like, there's so many things along the way that I think could have contributed to this being not as good as it is, but it's pretty fantastic. So I think as long as things stay like this, it's going to be something you need to watch out for. Once the final design elements are decided and the final votes take place, which if you want to, if you're part of the R-Throwers subreddit, you should go and vote. There's colors and other things being decided right now, so you can go check that out. I think it's probably going to be like 3 to 6 months until this thing comes out. It's really, really hard to say. I don't want to give an exact date. I don't think anyone does. But that's kind of the general time frame we're looking at, depending on the decisions that are made and depending on how quickly those decisions are made. So I'd say a safe bet would probably be like 6 months, but it could come out before that. Who knows? Anyway, guys, those are my impressions of the R-Throwers community designed prototype. This thing is pretty cool. I think you should check it out when it comes out. If you can get your hands on one, there's probably going to be pre-orders or something like that. So stay tuned for that in the future. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to go subscribe to TokYo-Yo Talk. It is on iTunes. There's the link in the description, but there's also an RSS feed that you can copy paste into the app of your choice. And please do check it out. Like I said, Jonathan Best just went up this morning. I've got Dylan Kowalski coming up. I've got Sam Hicks coming up. I've got Corrales coming up. I've got a couple of other YouTube personalities, big designers, company owners, players, team members from all different teams from all over the world. And the only way you're going to be able to hear that is if you subscribe to the podcast. I won't be putting those up as YouTube videos. So, TokYo-Yo Talk, the podcast. Subscribe on iTunes or use that RSS link, copy paste it into the RSS search field of your choice. Okay, take care. Have a nice day and sayonara.